Hey guys, it's Jane. It's Wednesday today. Wednesday. And so I'm here to do a Top 5 Wednesday. Top 5 Wednesday is the brainchild of Lainey from Ginger Reads Lainey, and I will link to her YouTube channel below and also to the Goodreads group where you can learn all about the wondrousness, which is the top of the 5 of the Wednesday. Now, today's topic is top 5 maps, and maps is something that I get a bit passionate about, and so it was a little bit tricky for me to just bring this down to 5, but I have done that. So let me show you what I've come up with. These are in no particular order. These are just 5 of my favourite maps out of some really interesting books. This one is Schott's Original Miscellany, which is a fantastic little book. It's the perfect bedside reading book for a guest room or something like that, because it's got all these massively interesting little bits and pieces. And the one that I'm going to show you is a map of cricket fielding positions. That's right, in case you need to work out the difference between silly mid on and silly mid off and fine leg, and yeah, that one will stand you in really good stead. Another favourite map of mine, I have quite a collection of atlases, and this one's probably my favourite. It has got a whole bunch of maps of the ancient world, and I could have chosen 100 different maps in here. Well, there may not be 100, but almost any of the maps in here, but this is the one I've chosen as an example. And this is a map of the city of Rome at the time of the emperors, and it shows where the walls were, where the mountains were, because of course Rome was famously built on 7 hills, and it tells you where the Campus Martius is, where all the soldiers used to march. It's got the Circus Maximus. It's got, yeah, a number of the temples marked on. A really interesting map. This is the newest of the books that I've got to show you today for my number 3 map. This is a very special book to me. It's a history of Neville Maskelyne, who was one of the Astronomers Royal. He was the Astronomer Royal at the time of the Longitude Prize, so he was really instrumental in some really interesting science at that time. I'm a bit of a fan of history of science. Some of my happiest memories of university were classes that I took in history of science. And one of the chapters in this book is written by a girl I actually was in lectures with at university. She was a good friend of mine, was later my bridesmaid. But anyway, she wrote one of the chapters in this book. She wrote a chapter about the relationship between Neville Maskelyne and Joseph Banks, who is one of the most important scientists in the history of Australia. So he was a naturalist, so that their relationship was very stormy, and she found some personal correspondence between the two of them and wrote a really interesting chapter in here. There's also a chapter about human computers and how Maskelyne used them. But the map I'm going to show you is actually not a map that Maskelyne drew, but one of his predecessors in the role of Astronomer Royal, Edmund Halley of Halley's Comet. There's his map. And the map is called A New and Correct Sea Chart of the Whole World Showing Variations of the Compass. Now, if you have a look, this is his version of the whole world, which is interesting in and of itself. It was published in 1702, and let me just read you a little bit about it. Sometimes the Astronomers Royal made observations far afield as well in pursuit of the longitude before they took up the position at Greenwich, as would Neville Maskelyne. Early modern astronomers were often required to be far more adventurous than their modern counterparts, sometimes trekking to distant viewing points and even going behind enemy lines during wars. At the turn of the 18th century, Edmund Halley twice commanded the Paramour, a small 3-master that was the first purpose-built naval research ship, and carried out investigations in the Atlantic into the differences between geographic north and magnetic compass north. He endured trials including crew insubordination and being mistakenly fired on as a pirate. His efforts produced a groundbreaking magnetic variation chart in the hope, periodically entertained throughout the 1600s and 1700s, that the variation was predictable enough to aid in estimating position at sea. So yeah, Edmund Halley, he didn't just look in the sky. He took boats out all across the Atlantic and took measurements and was fired on because people thought he was a pirate. Now that's my kind of astronomer. Okay, We're up to the fourth map that I've got to show you, and this is from this, which some of you may remember is the Bible that I had as a kid. And any good Bible, as I'm sure many people will know, has a few maps in the back. And mine had coloured maps, which was very super exciting. And I think of all of the maps that I spent hours poring over, the maps of St. Paul's missionary journeys were the ones that I spent the most on. So there are some real favourites. Now, my final map that I have to show you today is from this one, Tickets to Ride, which is one of my kids' favourite picture books. It's by Mark Rogalowski. He illustrated and wrote this, and he has done some amazing books. If you're interested in looking out picture books, I would strongly recommend looking up his name, because he just does fantastic illustrations and some really interesting themes. Anyway, this is an alphabet picture book where there is one page for every letter. So this is C, the carousel camel, and D is the lucky duck derby. But anyway, the map comes at the back, where we have a map of the entire theme park. Let me see if I can actually show this whole map. How beautiful is that? It's just perfect. And let me read you the key. Lost and found, safe and sound. Bathroom breaks, beware of snakes. Fresh fish, make a wish. Ice cream treat, have a seat. Falling pigs, crowns and wigs. Red balloon, frog lagoon. Secret way, time to play. Hope you all enjoy your stay. Okay, that's my top 5 maps. That's my top 5 Wednesday. I'm going back to Raymond Chandler now for Booktubeathon. I hope you're all well, and I'll talk to you later. Bye!